Welcome to Real Estate Done Rightish, your favorite podcast for realtors by realtors. Happy Shower Edition. I'm Jen.
And I'm Annalie. And for a combined 30 years, we've been working in this industry just trying to figure it out. And by figuring it out,
we mean we've learned that when a seller says make yourself at home, they don't actually mean you should judge their collection of ceramic cats.
We talked about making yourself at home
I
in
know,
a seller's
right?
house.
Yeah, ceramic cats. I've seen some collections. Doll collections, stuffed animal collections.
I have a client that if we can ever find them a house, they will be selling a house. And in their current lower level, he was a Coca-Cola collector.
Oh, wow.
So he had, like 2 full rooms
What?
full of Coca-Cola things. So we can get rid of our sugary treats here.
They're so cute, though. That's a lot of Coca-Cola collectibles. I just try not to judge people in general, but I don't really have an understanding of that. It doesn't really make sense to me, but
Yeah.
to each their own, you know?
Well, I think there's two kinds of collectors. There's the people that one time said, "Oh, I love ladybugs," and then everybody buys them ladybug stuff for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So then their whole house turns into a ladybug collection. And then there's people that are genuinely into something.
I love Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Does he drink Coca-Cola?
I don't know. I don't think so.
He better.
I don't know.
All right. What are we talking about today?
Well, it's happy hour.
Yay.
Which
cheers me to happy hour.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yay.
Had to pause for a little sip, which means we're going to kind of do a smattering of some fun stuff. I'm not going to go into what we're actually talking about. I'm just going to say we got some fun stuff.
Yeah. You guys, you're going to be in for a ride of your life.
We got a little economic conversation to have, and then we've got a little bit of an MLS policy versus
I thought you said you weren't
Zillow.
going to tell them what we're telling them.
I'm giving a general overview.
Oh, okay.
I said fun stuff, and then a little economic
the
update.
Fun stuff's a secret.
And then a little policy change, MLS policy change that we have not talked about yet.
Get ready.
Okay.
Let's do it. You said fun stuff first?
No, it's going to kind of go intermittently, but I'm
Okay.
going to tell you first what we're talking about.
Okay, let's go.
Today,
Oh my gosh.
I was
Wind
drinking
her up,
coffee
Buttercup. Yeah, you were drinking coffee.
this
Okay.
morning,
Yeah.
as one does.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I was thinking about how you were aghast at how much coffee I drank. So I asked the interwebs.
Aghast.
You did gasp.
I
You were
wasn't that
aghast.
much, but I was like, wow. What did you
Yeah.
say, 4 cups?
3 to 4,
Yeah.
sometimes more.
Feels like a lot. Okay.
I mean, depends.
I'm not
If you're feeling
judging, but I'm
spicy.
definitely judging.
And I just want to say that I had one person tell me at a minimum a pot of coffee.
What?
8
cups minimum?
Well, now, okay.
A pot of coffee is 8
I know,
cups.
but that's
16.
probably
It's like 16 cups.
No.
A pot of coffee?
But it's also not 16 glass. That is probably my 4 cups of
16,
coffee.
8 ounces,
Right.
which is whatever the math is.
And
on
I'm
it.
doing 6, yeah, or 10. I don't think most make 16. That's a lot.
Okay.
I'm making a 10-ounce cup when I make mine.
And you're having 4, so you're having 40 ounces of coffee.
Yeah.
That's like a big gulp. That's like a gallon of coffee.
Okay, but somebody messaged me and said minimum of a pot.
What?
Or pot plus. Somebody else messaged me and said,
What do you think their insides look like?
okay, calm down. Someone else messaged me and said, I don't keep track. I just let her buck, but I have a hard stopping at noon.
Wow.
So as much as you want until noon,
wow.
which is kind of what I do. I kind of stop around noon, maybe 1, maybe sometimes I have one at noon.
Hydrated?
No, I drink so
I can
much
have
water.
2 Oh, that's true. You do. Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
But if you're drinking a gallon of coffee and no water up until noon, I feel like you're just turning into a desert.
Well, I don't really drink water
Not
while I'm
you,
having coffee.
people, just
No,
people.
but I don't drink water
Oh.
in that time. I'm just drinking coffee. But then I usually switch and I'm drinking. How
many times a day
almost
do you go
gallon of
pee
water.
then?
Not that much.
What? Are you a camel?
Maybe. I just wanted to say thank you for the people who messaged me
Oh my
and validated
gosh.
that I was not a crazy person and I am
not
not an
crazy.
over coffee.
You're not an abuser. You're
Not
not
a
a
coffee
caffeine
abuser.
addict.
No, I don't think so. I don't get a headache if I don't drink coffee either.
Then you're not
so
I think I'm not
okay.
an addict.
All right. Well, we got that cleared up.
Good. I'm glad.
That's
Good.
number one.
Okay. Done.
All
Check
right.
it off the list.
Let's go economics next.
Fun.
This is kind of on you. We talked a
Oh.
little bit about
I don't know if I'd call it economics, but just a shift in the market.
that's economics.
I
dude.
guess, but I'm not talking about like
You're not talking about the economy. You're talking about
supply and demand ratio.
Yeah, it's economic. It's under the economic umbrella is my
You're
point.
right.
We're just going to touch on a little bit about some national trends regarding headlines have started to pop up everywhere we noticed in the last 2 weeks, maybe. I mean, it's been just really recent.
Yep.
About markets shifting into a buyer's market. And because we are not experiencing that here in the Twin Cities
Minneapolis.
in Minnesota in a huge way or in any way, we do have a few
talk
micro
about it.
markets
Yeah.
that are buyers markets already. We thought we should do a little more research. So
Yeah.
tell me what you found out.
So, for the first time in years, really about a decade, which is a long time to be in a seller's market. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a historically long period of time in favor of a seller.
Well, and I will just point out that's a really long time to have been a realtor.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I would say most real estate agents
Yeah.
have only ever worked in a seller's market.
That is so true and very noteworthy.
Yeah. So if you're, I mean, that's who should be listening to this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So buckle up, but also don't be scared. It's fine,
No.
but it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the first time in over a decade, we have a record imbalance. So there are about 1.9 million home sellers. This is nationally speaking, and only 1.5 million home buyers, meaning sellers outnumber buyers by 33.7%. So there's nearly 500,000 more sellers than buyers at this time, which is significant.
That's a lot.
This is the largest gap on record since they started tracking in 2013.
Wow.
And for a long time, nationally speaking, we were looking at how, construction wasn't keeping up with the pace of demand and how that was going to solve our housing inventory problem. And so what's shifted? Like, I think buyers are they've reached their max and they're kind of like, I'm done. I'm not going to overextend myself at this interest rate and pay for closing costs and negate an inspection and appraisal gap coverage. And it's like, no.
I also think it's worth noting that this is where watching national headlines can be dangerous.
Agreed.
Because in Minnesota, for instance, we are still, from every data point I've seen, we are still in a housing detriment and we are like 3 new construction permits short per buyer or something crazy. I mean, like we are not in line with this at all.
No.
And then so you have to think about, okay, if this is the average and it feels really significant, 33% is a lot. If this is for the nation, think about the markets that are
We're going to
feeling
talk
this
about that.
first.
Did you know you're leading into the
I
next
did not,
point, Annalie?
but
now?
it's just where my brain went. But think about those markets that have to be at such a detriment.
Yes.
We're talking about
Yes.
200% more homes, or I'm making numbers up. I didn't look at this part, so you get to tell us. But
yeah, I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a super point because the average nationally is taking into account some still really, really great sellers markets and some abnormally strong buyers markets. And the average is the average of the two. So it's a really good point. What I was curious about is what are the cities or the major metropolitan areas that are leading in the trend or the shifting change? And what are the ones lagging? And then historically speaking, are there trends in terms of which part of the countries lead in trends and which ones follow, like which, and there are. So I'm going to go through that.
can I make some guesses?
Please, yeah.
That I think I told you this. Well, I definitely did in a class I taught last week. But what I know to be true from my 21 years in the career is, which really is only one major shift
That's pretty
into
wild.
a buyer's market
That's wild.
in 21 years.
Yeah.
But what to be true is that markets where second homes are a huge part of the
Vacation
housing
properties. Yep.
Yes. So not people's primary residence, a vacation home, second property. Typically, areas where those are involved are going to show up as flipping to a buyer's market first, because any economic pressures are going to pull buyers out of those markets. And those markets are typically in strong sellers markets trying to build as fast as possible to make as much money as possible.
This is just all intuition for you.
No, it's watching the market for years
Yeah, I
and
know.
years and years and
Annalie,
years.
has anybody ever told you that you're a smart cookie?
No.
You're a smart cookie.
Oh, thank you. Daily affirmations from Jennifer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it does make
it
it
just
makes
makes
logical sense. So a few things before we talk about which areas, because then you guys can be guessing which cities and if they're in your city, why the shift. Some of this is kind of common sense. Again, high mortgage rates. So we're currently nationally speaking for a 30-year fixed mortgage, depending on credit, of course, around an average of 6.7% for a mortgage rate. Economic uncertainty, we're still seeing that play an impact. So concerns about tariffs, layoffs. We talked about that. You have how many people close to you in your inner circle that just got laid off? Did you?
3.
Was this you? Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
Like it's happening.
In like the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I was hosting an open house a weekend ago, and two people that came through in the very beginning were like, "Yeah, I got laid off. I was out in California, and I moved back home." And found a job here, thankfully. I mean, Minneapolis, again, has a lot of Fortune 500 companies and whatever. But, yeah, layoffs are real. It's happening. And so, yeah, buyers are kind of cooling on their activity right now. How's that going to affect seller expectations? So that's that. Okay, so one of the major markets that is taking a big hit, no surprise, is the condo market. We're seeing that in a real way in Minneapolis. If you're like, how's Minneapolis? You should probably ask, are you talking about condos or not? Because condo market is definitely a buyer's market right now.
And has been, I would say,
Yeah.
since 2020.
Yeah.
Not all of the Twin Cities, but Minneapolis proper, and specifically uptown Minneapolis, which
Yeah.
is where we're sitting right now. There are certain neighborhoods. I think downtown definitely flipped to a buyer's market and might have flipped back. And now I'm not sure where it is. I think it's probably building to building, honestly, down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
So the condo,
not even just the whole condo market is my point, is like we are seeing it in micro
Yeah.
markets within the condo market. But I think in general, it's probably closer to a buyer's market than a seller's market.
for sure. Condo market nationwide is seeing a greater imbalance. So greater imbalance than the single family home. So 83.5% more condo sellers than buyers nationwide, compared to 27.8% surplus for single family homes.
Interesting.
So that's a broad.
Do you know why that is?
I don't know why that is. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a lot of insurance issues.
Oh yeah, with the like collapsing condos down in Florida, and then the assessments
or
they're
even
putting.
just getting insurance on that size of a building. It's just bigger risk, right? I know that I own a condo right now, sidebar, and I know getting insurance every year is like a question mark.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Is our current insurer going to keep insuring us, and what's that going to look like? So that's part of it. And then age of the building and assessments. We've seen this. I've seen this here on multiple buildings that I've worked in. We're talking the entire facade of the whole 30-story condo building in Loring Park needs to be pulled off and redone.
You get a surprise assessment as a condo owner, and it's like an
we're
insane
talking
amount.
We're talking $40,000 to $50,000 on that building and they're on a 1-bedroom condo, so it just pushes the value down
Yeah.
in a huge way. So I think those have been the biggest things nationwide that are the two factors. Now here we're seeing other factors, and I think COVID also in general.
Yeah.
A lot of people did not want to be in multi-living buildings, right?
Yeah.
They want to be. What I saw during COVID was that everybody wanted the next step up from what they had. So if they were in a condo, they wanted like a backyard or just their own outdoor space where they could like be outside.
Yeah.
If they had any outdoor space, they wanted more.
Yeah.
So if they were like in a single family home in the city,
They're like,
they
"We
wanted
want
a
some
single family
acreage."
home in the suburbs. If they were in the suburbs, they wanted acreage. I had people that had acreage move to the middle of
kinda
nowhere. Like it
wild.
was just everybody wanted the next thing.
Yeah.
The next
How
up.
crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Okay, so back to the top markets that are shifted to buyer markets. So this is coming from Redfin data. Now, I don't know how accurate, like where they're pulling the data from, but so take that for what it's worth. But they've identified the 31 of the top 50 U.S. metropolitan areas as buyer markets as of June of 2025. So we're here now. This is the fresh
I was
data.
like, when is June of
Yeah,
2025?
yeah.
I'm like,
We're
oh,
like,
right,
we're here.
right now.
We're here. So the strongest buyers market with sellers outnumbering buyers by nearly 3 to 1 is Miami, Florida. Not surprising to
yeah.
me. Yeah. And then we've got Austin, Texas, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville. So Florida, congratulations.
Whew. Taking it over.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
in Miami, I mean, I haven't been there in probably 10 years, but a lot of condos. So that story checks. Like you get outside
Right.
of like the downtown or the
Right.
I don't remember even what what's it called? The main like party area,
I don't know.
something beach or something.
West Palm
Well,
Beach?
guys,
I don't know. We don't know.
no.
I don't know.
Well,
We're going to just not pretend
my
to
lack
know
of
that.
cool just showed up
It
in
just
a
showed
real
up.
big way.
Okay, other metros experiencing price declines and cooling demands. Boise, Idaho.
Interesting.
Phoenix, Arizona, Salt Lake City, Utah,
Phoenix
Las
checks,
Vegas,
Vegas checks.
Oakland, California, Dallas, Texas, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco Bay Area, Denver, Portland, Sacramento, California, San Antonio, Texas, Houston, Texas, Tampa, Florida. So,
Can I just say, if you're
yeah.
listening in any of these markets, will you
Let us
please
hear.
shoot us an email and just give us an anecdote about, are you experiencing a buyer's market or what are you seeing? Is it just starting? Has it been there
Yeah.
for a bit? Like what is it feeling like?
Yeah.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So then I was like, okay, so what are the regional trends historically speaking, not just in this shift, but if we see, we're in the Midwest, so in Minnesota, in the center of the
middle of
country,
the-
we're
yeah.
in the middle of the country, effectively. Like now, if we're shifting all over the country, can we expect that trend to reach us? Is what I'm wondering selfishly. Like, are we
Yep.
watching a wave come in? And so the leading regions, historically speaking, in shifts to a buyer's market have been south, so which is Florida and Texas, what we're seeing now. And then to southwest, like Phoenix and Las Vegas, which makes sense.
Yep, we're there.
And then the following regions would be the west. What areas in the west, I wonder they mean?
I would guess it's pulling in a little bit. So we're talking like,
Washington.
well, what I recall, and I could be wrong, but what I recall from the last
California.
the crash was that it started, to me, it felt like it started in Florida and major metros on the West Coast. So Seattle,
Yep.
San Francisco, LA,
Yep.
and then also like Phoenix. It was like a little hook.
And that's what we're seeing in this list right now. California is up in there, and then it's moved Oregon, Washington, Seattle, Washington. So yeah,
And then it felt like it kind of jumped from, it just spread through the West
The
Coast
West.
and kind of started coming in.
Yep.
And it wasn't like a fluid boom,
Right,
boom, boom.
right,
It jumped different metros and some
Right.
places didn't feel it as quickly. And then it kind of went from Florida up into, I would say, Georgia, over into some of those southern, like Alabama, some of those like Gulf Coast states that are also big second vacation property markets. And then jumped up to like New York, condos, co-ops would make sense, I guess. And luxury, right? Just high-end properties. And then kind of filled in the rest of the nation. And we felt it, I want to say, a year
later
to a year and a half behind like Vegas. I remember
that
hearing
too.
Vegas stories and being like, well, that's not going to happen here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It
wild. And it
did.
did. So
Yeah.
for whatever it's worth, this article is suggesting that so that it would be, let me go over this again, south, southwest, west coast, Midwest, East Coast, suggesting that it moves just straight across. And what it's
this
saying
is saying
about the
northeast
northeast
last.
is saying that would be last, and that the inventory remains tighter, the price growth is more moderate, so the region is slower to transition compared to the south and southwest.
Interesting, yeah.
I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens, but effectively we're in like a shifting sandwich in the Midwest. We're right in the middle.
This did remind me also, I remember going to like big national conventions when the shift was happening. And what the message is it doesn't matter where you are. If you are look at the last 5 years of appreciation.
Yeah.
If you are in a market that felt like over 10% appreciation on average for the last 5 years, get ready. You're going to feel early.
Yeah.
If you are in a market that's like 5 to 7%, you're going to feel it later. If you're in a market that's 2 to 4%, you might not even feel it at all.
That makes a lot of
And I
sense.
think even it took a long time for some markets that just aren't volatile. They don't really have growth. They don't really have people leaving. They're like small towns that are kind of insular and isolated. eventually I think they felt it because everybody felt that last housing crisis. But I think that it might have taken 3 years. And then did they feel it in a huge way?
Right.
Probably not. Right.
Right. Yeah.
But I remember like agents from around the nation talking about that, and then leadership kind of guiding us to say, look at where you were. Because if you've been growing a ton, and that sparked that memory.
That's good. That's a good point. Yeah, and I feel like some of this is a broken record, but to the extent that our clients or potential clients are reading the news or seeing things, like the first place that I got keyed in on this was LinkedIn. It was a LinkedIn author that like writes for LinkedIn that had published an article and shared, I think it was a Redfin article, and then wrote her own kind of spin on it. And I'm like, professional individuals all across the nation are seeing these articles that are being put out by different brokerages or resources. Zillow is one of them. Sometimes they're not accurate either. Sometimes they're inflammatory. If you get Inman news, like it's, sometimes it is what it is. So it's just good to be keyed into at least what people are hearing and what pieces of it may or may not be accurate. So
yeah, and then where might we be trending?
Yeah.
Like I said, we're sitting down with people all the time that are talking about maybe selling next year, and they just want to know what that might look like. I would be having this conversation with those people.
I am.
I just got a call from a very specific market, but I said to them, just so you know, we are already seeing markets across the nation flip to buyers markets. We're not quite here yet. I'm going to have to dig a little bit in your market to know if you already have flipped or not.
Yeah.
Because you might have.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's not going to be it's not going to be horrible for you, but it might take us a little more time.
Yeah.
We might have to be a little more aggressive on pricing, just so.
I was just looking at a property you were looking at with me too, just like the rate of increase or appreciation for price is just flatlined in this particular city. It's a small data set, so it's hard to really look at that closely. But then we looked at the county, same thing. The county that it's in over the last 2 years has flatlined in the rate of appreciation. Now, usually a plateau ends up going down. Just in like if you're not growing, you're eventually on your way to a decline. Now that could shift again. But that's like, I was talking with this client today or potential client, like we're just keeping a watch on this. Like, where is this going? We're not increasing by 4% every year right now in this area, which is the national trend. But
yeah.
Okay, listen to us. We're so smart. Not really. I don't know everything, but every once in a while it's like, oh, we know some things. You know?
We're watching things.
We are.
And we're looking for what's the story behind the story, or what's the story behind the headline.
Yeah,
more than
that's
anything.
a good way to put it.
Which I think is just super important. So love it. Okay. We were smart. Now we're gonna be. Now I'm gonna shift it a little bit.
Oh, I can't wait.
Be dumb. I'm just gonna share something that happened to me today.
Oh, okay.
And it is 100% connected to our resilience episode. So I just woke up this morning.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited to hear.
And I just felt like crying.
Oh, okay.
For no reason.
Yeah.
Like, now I shouldn't say for no reason. I'll be a little raw here. My dad's death anniversary was yesterday. So last night I just
talk about this, Annie. I'm sorry.
It's not a super important day to me.
It's not?
No, because I don't want to celebrate the day he died.
No, but
I want to commemorate
it creeps up, and then it's like I get emotional, and then I don't realize why, and then I'm like, oh, that's why I kind of forgot.
Yeah. And I didn't remember until the afternoon. Oh. And then I did a bunch of cooking and meal prep for like the next week or plus. I'm going to put some stuff in the freezer. I just kind of spent quiet time by myself and whatever. But I woke up this morning just feeling like
sad.
And not even sad, like a little anxious, a little sad. I felt really off, just not good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I can sit here and feel like this all day. Or like, what can I do? And so I did a little bit of work, and I chose work things that were like energizing.
Nice.
I made a little list, and then I could cross things off.
Yeah, you're a list maker.
Which does feel really good to cross some stuff off for me. Then I am also starting I'm not even going to call it a manifestation surrounding money. It's a challenge for clearing money blockages in your life. We're going to talk more about this later.
Oh, we are? Are we coming back to it in this episode?
No.
Okay, can I just put a pin in something real quick?
Yeah.
I am going to just say that we someday are going to do like an in-person event where we're talking about business planning and energetic like manifestation stuff. And if people aren't on board with that, that's fine.
Yeah.
One of the things that I can't remember if I said this in the last episode or we talked about it, but like this science friend of mine.
Yeah.
He's a secret science friend. Anyways, I was talking to him about some of this stuff, and he was so sweet. He was like, the science behind this isn't like, it's not sturdy.
It's not legit.
It's not necessarily legit. He is a scientist. He's a PhD. And he was like, this is not necessarily legit. And he said, I believe in it. And he said, I think it's important to say, so maybe this is a little bit of a correction from the last episode that I talked about this. It's important to say there's no definitive proof that focusing your attention on things or like manifesting things or raising your vibration or all that stuff. There's no scientific proof that it absolutely works. Also, there's no proof it doesn't work.
Sure.
And that was a moment for me of like, you're right. And he said, so if you just say that and you say, but here's my experience and it's working, then people can choose to get on board or not, or choose to try it out of an experiment or not. And that feels really liberating to me to be like, not F it, but kind of F it. Like if we want to do an event, we're going to talk about business planning and also, hey, if you want to try this, how to like shift your energy and this might work to get more business, that's what we're doing. We're trying it. And for me, it's working.
Well, what I think about focusing on a shift in energy, and I'm going to give you exactly what I did today, is why would that ever be a bad thing?
Right.
Why having a better outlook or having more vibrant energy in life?
Right.
Whether that's in your relation with your family or your friends or your clients or attracting business or whatever, attracting humans, like whatever you're trying to do in your life, having better energy is always going to be better than having crappy energy.
Right.
So I don't know that it needs to be science. It can just be like, how do I want to show up for the world today?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to show up with the way I was feeling because I was just like, I just want to climb into a hole. Like, and I really felt like I was going to cry all day or all morning. And I was just like, ugh. So anyway, I asked people about coffee and then I felt a little bit better. No.
I was like, is that all you did to shift your energy?
No.
It takes me way more than that.
No, I was very strategic, actually. A little bit based on our episode, a little bit just based on some thoughts I had. So I'm just going to tell you the story. So I already said, I made a little list of work things that would feel energetically shifting and feel good to accomplish. Check those off. I then, so back to this manifestation or like it's a money challenge that and it's kind of shifting your thoughts about money. And shifting your energy again about money. And I'm not going to go into like the details of why I'm doing it or whatever. We're going to talk about this more as I get into it. It's a 3-week challenge. But it hasn't officially launched yet, but there's some like pre-work. And one of the pre-work things was to go on a walk and identify and breathe in examples of abundance, whatever that might be. So that might be somebody driving like a beautiful car that you see on your walk. That might be, there was a peony bush that was like blooming so big, and peonies are my favorite flower. And they always bloom right around my birthday. So I feel like they're mine. They're my flower. The rest of you can look at them, but they're like technically mine. But it was like so full of flowers. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen, we had one growing up that had like, I think I counted 89 blooms on it one time. It was like 6 feet tall. It was crazy.
Wow.
But this one was just like falling over
so
with
abundant.
all these, so abundant with blooms, like just crazy. So it was, it wasn't about money. It was about abundance.
Two different things or similar.
And I just took, and I go on like a 4.5 mile walk. I took the first like mile of it to just find those things. And then I had a great phone call with one of my siblings. I want to check in with him. He and I were kind of co-caretakers of my dad when he was sick. So I want to check in with him. And we talked about kind of just like again, like energy shifting. And he was saying, well, that, also like that's not an important date to me because I think about him about when I'm doing things he loved. I don't want to like spend my energy when he died. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So I had this like really lovely conversation that was like an hour almost, or like 45 minutes, one of my siblings. And then I took the rest of the time, once I hung up with him, I looked and I had about a mile left on my walk. And I took the rest of the time to like go through a gratitude checklist. And I was just like, what has been happening this week? Like, why am I feeling this way? And what can I just say? Like, that's not that it's stupid to feel the way I was feeling, but no. I kind of was like, gratitude makes it feel stupid to feel the way I'm feeling. Like there are so many beautiful things that have been happening. And I had a past client reach out because he and his wife both got 3 text messages that said like, hey, this is Anna. Are you still enjoying your home at blah, 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 like 123 Main, their address?
Oh, pretending to be you?
I don't know, but it was a scammer. Obviously 3 each in one day. And he emailed me to say, hey, is this you? And like put a screenshot in it because he said, A, I never have heard you refer to yourself as Anna, so I didn't feel like it was. But B, I wanted to make sure it wasn't you before I was rude. I was like, I love you. Yeah. And then he said, oh, and by the way, I just referred you to a coworker of mine and like told me about her. And then I had a past client reach out to me and they were like, are you willing to sell our house?
Oh my gosh.
Like we wanted to check with you before we made any assumptions. Yeah, and I was like, yes,
I'd be willing.
I am always willing to sell anybody's properties. So yes. So I was just like feeling really grateful. And then I came back from that and like shifted energy and I was like, okay, what's going to make recording, which I always look forward to because I think this is so fun. It brings me energy. Yeah. But I was like, what's going to make this fun? And so then I like grabbed some candy and grabbed us wine. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So, and then I was just like, I was ready. And then I came in with like a totally different energy than I woke up with this morning. So I just wanted to share that like
Thank you.
Being purposeful about shifting, like I feel 100% different than I did 12 hours ago.
So if you guys don't know me, you're probably going to need to know that I cry for a lot of reasons, or it's just like, what is it like? It's like goosebumps for some people, I think, for me. Like, I don't fully cry, but I feel like I'm on the verge of tears right now. Like, I could cry. And I might just a little bit. I'm just so grateful for you and excited for you. And thank you for sharing that. I don't know. Yeah. I'm happy for you.
Well, I turned in like what felt kind of a crummy day into being like, no, I was just like, I'm not accepting this. I'm going to be purposeful. And I knew, I didn't know actually. Right. I didn't know if it was going to work because it didn't feel like it was going to work.
No, it feels like the last thing you want to do. It's like, this is stupid. I don't want to freaking do this stupid exercise.
When I left to go on the walk, I literally was like, well, I could also just cry the whole time I'm walking.
Sometimes we need to
I was like, if that's what I need to do, like that's worst case scenario, but still is going to be a win because I'm moving energy like literally through my body. I'm walking, I'm like getting my blood pumping, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, at least that I can do that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to plan to do these other things. Oh, that's so good. And they worked.
I feel like for everybody listening, I think it's a moment of just saying, but what if I tried these things and then just see? And if doesn't quote unquote work, then fine. But gratitude is so powerful. It's interesting that you said the abundance thing. There's a meditation that I'm listening to every morning. It's a 20-minute YouTube video that's free. And the meditation is an abundance meditation. It's not about money. And so he actually walks through, it's like you speaking, just saying like, I see abundance everywhere I go. I see abundance in the trees and in the grass and in like just in nature, to see how nature provides abundance everywhere that we are. And that is the law of nature, and just programming the fact that we can see abundance everywhere we go. And it's very different from thinking of, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, scarcity mindset. But a scarcity mindset is not an abundant mindset. It's like, there isn't enough for me. There isn't enough love. There isn't enough time. There isn't enough money. There isn't enough clients. There isn't enough, whatever you name it. You wake up. I think I read that in one of the episodes, or maybe I just read it to you. this book, The Soul of Money. And she talks about that. She's like, the scarcity mindset is maybe an American mindset, but you see it pervasively throughout, where we wake up and we like, oh my God, I don't have enough time, or I didn't have enough food to pack my lunch. Like we just kind of autopilot into not enough, and to retrain our mind to look for the abundance is like so different. It does shift your energy.
Well, and I think it says something that was the very first exercise for this challenge.
It's so cool.
Was just to like go find it.
Yeah, go find
just
abundance.
go notice it. I think too, what was popping into my head when you were just talking is the comparison game that we play these days. And I've found myself multiple times. This is going to be an abundance and comparison conversation for a second. When I'm walking around my lake, there's people sunning themselves and like reading books on the beach because it's June and they're adults. And I walk that lake almost every day. And many times when I see them, the first thing that pops into my head is, I wish I could just lay on the lake and read a book all day. And I'm comparing myself and being like, why can't I do that? I wonder are they just like independently wealthy, or are they, like my mind starts like kind of making stories up about the people that I'm seeing. And there's 4 beaches on my lake. So it's like, I keep seeing people just chilling on the lake or in hammocks or whatever. And today I changed the narrative about those people. And I thought, well, they have what power that they are okay to be sitting at the lake at noon on a Wednesday. Now, also what popped into my head was, you jerk, you also are walking around the lake.
I was just going to say, I'm like,
day.
Annalie, you have that opportunity.
Well,
1,000%.
of course I could go and I could go sit there, but I'm also like, they're probably there on their day off. I'm walking it every day. I also live like walking distance from this lake. And like, I have all of these things. And that all kind of flooded me. When I shifted the narrative about the people.
That's so powerful.
That also like became, I've done this before where like, I like to go to Target on at Tuesday at noon because I'm like, that's when no one else is there. And then when it's really busy, when I go at Tuesday at noon, I'm like, doesn't anyone have to work? And I'm like, well, you're here, you jerk. Like, there's like a lot of people.
It's really
that
real.
have
Like the things our minds do and how we, shift the narrative, how the story that we tell. And that's so freaking powerful. I love that.
Yeah. So that was that's our energy portion of the conversation.
I like that. Okay, great. Yay, energy.
Yay, energy shifted. And it felt so good. Oh, it felt so good.
That's so good. Good job. Also, can I just say, I know it's a little cheese, but it's affirmations by Jen today. Oh, I think it's really great that you chose to do that. I just think, I know you already said it was hard to do and you didn't want to do it, but like to make that decision to do that, I feel like this book I'm reading was talking about like the mental battle is the hardest battle. It's harder than even doing the activity. It's choosing mentally to engage in something different. And it's freaking hard. Like it's hard. Like you and I were talking the other day and I'm like working on the same thing, like shifting my focus, shifting my energy. And so for the people that are listening, like I looked at you before I was telling you a thing that I was like wanting to manifest. And I just preemptively, not that I thought you were going to respond negatively, but I was I just was like, hey, before I tell you this thing, like don't give me any negative feedback to it. Don't tell me that it's not realistic. Don't tell me.
Yeah. Don't tell me it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Don't
because
tell me
when you're
anything.
shifting your mindset and you're working on thinking in abundance and working on thinking in possibility, and it's like a seed of a belief, it's like barely a belief. You can't afford to get that negativity coming your way. Yeah. And so like, and I'm like, it legit is the hardest work I do. The hardest work I do is in my mind. And I'm cold calling and I go to the gym and I do the things. The hardest work I do is in my mind. And I don't do it all the time. I know the days when I choose to cry instead of being like, no, I'm going to go search for gratitude. So props to you for searching for gratitude.
Thank you.
Okay. That's all.
Okay, now we're going to shift in a huge way.
Left turn.
I'm trying to go back and forth.
Yeah, it's good. We're like weaving and we're bobbing.
Yeah. We're doing a little like...
What's it called? A bob and a... Like if we were
bob and
boxers?
Weave?
Bob and weave? Is that what they do?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about boxing.
It's shocking. Neither of us
Shocking
are
for both
boxers.
of us.
No way.
No.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the NAR change, about the delayed marketing period.
This is a big left turn.
Yeah.
I'm one glass of wine in, so
I know.
we'll see
Well,
how
we're going
this
to keep
goes.
this we're going to keep this high level.
Easy breezy.
I think we could talk we'll continue to talk about this because we have no idea how it's going to play out. What I want to cover today is just what it is. Because we got into a little bit of like a disagreement or a
Are we fighting these days?
No.
No, we weren't fighting.
We
but
were being
I just,
sassy the
we
other
were being,
day.
We were. But even today, I was like, hey, look, I'm not trying to prove you wrong. And I'm not trying to be right. I'm just trying to get clarity on what's happening.
And neither of us was wrong.
And we both can be strong.
Yeah. We get a little passionate. When we have and when we have different points of view, we're like a little bit direct.
Right.
But also, I knew that neither of us was wrong.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to understand where we were both right.
Okay,
I was trying to get there.
Look, so now we're going to tell everybody
we're gonna tell
how
everyone
right
else what we're
we
talking
are.
about. We're
How
talking
right we are.
Now, no, I'm actually going to put a disclaimer out there. I don't know how right I am about any of this.
We're
This is going to
talking
be
about it.
high level. We are learning about this. We are growing about this. We don't know why people would want to do this.
Wait, just like, what are we talking about? We're talking about the off-market network, NAR's new
delayed marketing period from NAR. Okay, so I'm just going to give a high level overview about what is it. So we know that right now, based on the clear cooperation policy that NAR has put out, if you are withholding a property from the MLS, you can exclusively market it to your brokerage under your one broker umbrella. And then when it goes active, it can still go active and it can be in the MLS. You can also do coming soon, which would be...
Can I pause you real quick?
Yes.
For the people that are listening, I think it would be helpful for them to know, because this is how this came to me, and this is where our confusion came in, was that the sort of headlines that I've seen are like, Compass and Zillow are at each other's throats.
We're going to get there. We got to start with
I know,
the
but
super
I want to
basics.
let them know like where it's coming from. That's it.
Where what's coming from?
Just this conversation is coming from that. That's one of the headlines that was piquing me into like, what is this about? What's happening?
we're gonna get to the Zillow of it all.
Yes.
I think the headline is the Zillow of it all.
Okay, so
So
it started with NAR and Zillow became the headline. So now we're telling you about what's happening with NAR.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
So NAR has its clear cooperation policy. Right now, there's a withheld, which is an exclusive period. There are companies like Compass, big companies that have one broker. That is the only company that should be doing this. Now, I don't know how Compass is doing it because they don't have one broker over every single office, to my knowledge.
It's the same thing with Edina Realty. And so when I was on the brokerage side of it in management.
For people not in Minnesota, Edina Realty is a big broker here that used to have one broker, and my understanding is they have multiple now.
So, and they're not franchised. Okay, this gets a little in the weeds, but I do think it's important for people to understand. So Edina Realty is one example. They're not franchised. Keller Williams is where we're at. We're franchised. So
individually owned and operated.
Our offices are individually owned and operated, like Subways or whatever that's franchised, McDonald's. And within each of our franchises, we have a broker. And because like we've argued it as agents many times, well, why can't I off-market network this to the franchise that's 20 minutes away from here? Because you don't have the same broker.
Yep.
For some reason that I'm not going to say who, but we've brought it to the Department of Commerce to say, well, why can't Edina Realty, they have what's called, I don't know if they still do, but as of 2 years ago they did, what's called a one network. And so they had an off-market network that was across every Edina Realty office. Now they're corporate, they're not franchised, but they have individual brokers. And so how they're getting away with that, I don't know, but they're getting away with an off, or they were. So if I'm wrong, you write in and tell us and correct us on that. But that being said,
we don't think any of this is bad or good. I don't have an opinion about. I think every company has pluses and minuses when it comes to how big is your broker umbrella, because you get into dual agency things and you get into different legalities. This is a topic about this that is very singularly looking at a part of having one huge brokerage umbrella versus smaller brokerage umbrellas. I love Edina Realty. I just want to
No,
put that
I'm
out there.
I'm not opposed to
just saying
Edina either.
We don't think that it's bad or good. The way that those are structured.
No, I agree.
My question is for like Compass, for instance, my understanding is with their network that they're putting across the nation every listing that is in this office exclusive period is going into that portal and they're all able to see them. I don't understand that. But anyway, that's not really what this is about.
Yeah.
Really. Right now, that's what we have. We have, because of clear cooperation, you can either be withheld, and that means you can only market to your brokerage, or you can be incoming soon, and you are marketing to the public, but nobody can enter the home.
And that goes on the MLS and it syndicates. Syndicates means that it pushes to all these other websites like Zillow and Redfin and
Yes.
House.
It starts advertisement through the IDX and syndication network that the MLS has in place.
Yep.
Okay.
Got it.
Good?
I think we're good. If listeners aren't good, you let us know.
Oh shoot. You aren't able to tell us immediately
Someday we'll do live recordings.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was in March. I don't have the date in front of me. NAR came out and said, we are giving another option, and MLSs, you get to make a couple rules about this, and they have to be in place. They can be in place now. You can start at any time. They have to be in place by September 30th. The new option is what's called a delayed marketing period. You have to put them in, so that listing, you have to put in the MLS immediately. They have to sign a disclosure that just like with withhold, there's a withheld form you have to sign that states they understand that they are in what's called a delayed marketing period. My understanding is that means they are going into the MLS. Every agent that has access to that MLS. Now, again, this is a difference because it's not going to be other MLSs. It's going to be your MLS. So if you're in a very small MLS, this is going to look different than if you're in a very big MLS. I feel like I'm saying MLS a lot. Feels weird, but it's okay.
Brings me back to the box episode. How many times can we say box in an episode?
A lot, turns out.
Turns out like we should go back and count it.
Yeah, well, I bet I'm saying MLS more. Okay, so it would go live in your MLS, but it would not syndicate during that time. The other part is that each MLS is going to get to set that delayed marketing period, how long that is going to be based on what they think is best for their market conditions.
Pause. Okay, because I don't fully understand. So they'll set a time frame, let's say it's 7 days or 14 days, that says you must have it in this status that is
for no more than X days.
No more than X days, and then it will push public.
That is my understanding.
To syndication.
Correct.
Meaning public.
That is my understanding.
Okay.
So we got into a little bit of a conversation first about why would a seller want to do that?
Let's be honest, it was a fight. We were like boxing.
We weren't fighting.
I know we weren't fighting.
But I really do now. And I said to you, well, I thought the same thing about the coming soon period. And then when we were in like a really crazy seller's market, it was really helpful for people to go coming soon on a Monday, get that kind of, I call it the runway to going live. And during that coming soon period, buyers can book showings for when you're going to be live. And it really helped sellers know what their first weekend was going to look like.
You got
and kind
sharks
of get that
in the water.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, you get that energy going around the property early.
Yep.
So, but when it first got announced, I was like, why would I do that? That sounds dumb.
Yeah.
And I didn't use it a lot. And then for certain sellers over different markets. Now I told you, I'm like, now in a buyer's market, is that going to be as useful? I don't know. Are we going to see as many coming soons? I don't know. I still don't see that many. I see it in different markets, I feel like. Here, high-end markets use it a lot. Like the higher the price point, the more they use it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Just to say, I don't know why a seller yet. I would love to hear what people think about this. Why would a seller want to go into a delayed marketing period so that they're available to agents and real buyers, right? That's who the MLS, that's who should have access to the MLS, is agents and buyers who are currently working with an agent.
This is maybe a privacy thing. This is like off-market networking.
Well, this
the
is-
only
yeah.
thing I've heard about that is like, we don't really want people to know, like in the really luxury markets in the Twin Cities, when I've talked to the like luxury agents, like multi-million-dollar properties, it's like, well, we don't want people to know we're getting divorced, or we don't want people to
Right.
know that this property is for sale. Like, it's a privacy thing. I haven't
Well,
heard any other reason that you wouldn't
I
like.
threw out-
Why wouldn't it be advantageous to go totally public?
I
don't
threw out
get
the
it.
example of testing the market. Like, so let's say it's an estate and it's full of the person's stuff, and we know if we're gonna get to the live market, we know that before we let everybody see it, and before there's like a big marketing push, we know we want to get the house cleaned out and the walls painted and the carpet, the bright blue carpet replaced, right?
Yeah.
Like, but what if we just test it with the serious people first and see what they think? Maybe.
I don't disagree with that, but also like for
I don't
me,
know.
I'm like,
trying to come up with
no,
ideas. I don't know.
you know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, to me, I'm like, that doesn't totally make sense because you still only get one first impression
With the serious buyers.
With the serious buyers,
Right.
and I'm like, so you're gonna get in front of them with your half-baked property
Right.
at the premium price because you don't want to start low. Like,
Right.
it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean that it's going to at some point. It will shake out. It either no one
We'll
will
see.
use
We'll
it,
see
or
it.
there will be
Yeah.
scenarios where it's used.
Yeah.
Now, where this gets interesting is that,
Zillow.
well, this is a little bit going back to like the year before I got into real estate.
Mm-hmm.
There was no internet MLS. You know
You're
what it was,
such a
right?
young pup.
You know what it was, though, right?
What?
It's a book.
Yeah, no, I remember that. No, well, I don't remember that. I wasn't in it, but I've heard people tell stories.
I never had to use the book. I just want to make that clear. I came in about a year after it was cut. Okay, not that old, but it's a book. So who controlled the book?
God.
No, Jen. This is a real question. Oh no, Jen's had a glass of wine and now she can't answer simple questions. Who controlled the book? Literally,
I don't know.
Realtors.
Okay, what do you mean they controlled the book?
The book got printed once a week and delivered to offices.
No freaking way. I actually don't know the logistics of how this worked.
It was like a phone book that got delivered once a week with all of the listings in it.
How many phone books got delivered to each office each week?
I don't know the answer to that question.
That's
We're going to need to make a
freaking
call
crazy.
to my first boss because I think he's still
That's a lot of paper. That's a lot of trees.
lot of trees.
Wow.
Lot of trees.
So then people
and then
would flip through the book.
you'd flip through the book for your buyer. You would make copies of the listings that they might want to see. You would present them to them, or you would, as the agent, just book the showings. Right? I mean, it was so inefficient.
Okay, why are we talking about the book again? Bring me back.
Because who controlled the book?
You said the agents.
Realtors.
Yeah.
Only agents had access to the listings.
Those little stinking buggers.
No, that was a good thing for agents. Because we controlled the market. We controlled the access to the information.
But we want clients to have access. We don't want to like sift through what they can and can't see.
Absolutely. But you're missing the through. What is
the
this
wine, you guys.
What is
I
this
had a
delayed
glass of
marketing
wine.
period doing? It's bringing the control back to the agents. Only agents are going to access that information. Who doesn't?
Versus what?
Versus random consumers that are not working with an agent.
Yep.
Versus Zillow. Versus homes.com.
Yep.
Versus every other marketing site that's using our listings to make money, which is selling leads.
This is the point.
Back
folks.
to
if
agents.
you're not watching my face on YouTube, you probably
She's
don't
making
want
a lot
to.
of faces. I feel like she's
Anyways,
not-
this is the point.
But
this is the point.
So it's giving people an option, and this is what's setting Zillow off. Zillow is like,
Zillow's like F you world.
Well, Zillow wants to be a viable business, and if they don't have access to all of the listings,
Okay, wait. We
How
skipped a
viable are they
step.
gonna be?
We skipped a step. Okay. So
no. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So what Zillow came out and said is, if a property is ever in that delayed marketing period, or well, I actually just read a thing that said, and I don't know if this is true or not, but that said that their actual declaration was if a property is not put into the MLS, if it's in any withheld status for more than 24 hours, it will never show up on Zillow. We're cutting you off. So this to me becomes a Zillow versus the world, Zillow versus realtors
Right.
conversation.
Right.
And you said, well, why would realtors want to support Zillow? And I said, well, how many realtors buy leads from Zillow? A lot.
A lot, and a lot of the big teams and some small brokerages. Like
Now
they're-
I will take a step back again and say, when those real estate books were involved in real estate, where did the buyers go when they needed to find a property?
to a realtor.
They walked into an office and they said, can we sit down and see what's available?
Right.
I don't think that this is going to do that.
No.
I don't think that I love having people have access to the
Right.
information. I love exposure. I am a marketer.
I don't want to be a gatekeeper.
No.
I don't want to be decide like what I think they are going to like in a property. No.
And that was never happening wasn't supposed to be happening with the book
It wasn't
either.
supposed to be happening.
Well-
I'm guessing it did.
Does it happen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because people are like,
And
they're
people
not
still-
paying out. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's how you do your business. That's a choice of, are you going to be a good agent or a bad agent, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Doesn't matter. What's interesting about this is, are agents going to choose a way to spin this to sellers to take back
Power.
our power of generating leads? How do leads get generated off of listings? Are they going to pull back some of that power? I don't know.
Break that down, because I don't know if everybody's going to track with that. Like how does keeping this more private versus going to Zillow allow us to take back some of that power?
Because they have to come to an agent to access those properties.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody else gets them for a certain period of time. But if Zillow decides to, no one else has come, by the way, none of the other syndication sites at this moment, to my knowledge, have come out and said, oh yeah, us too. We are also never going to put those homes on our sites. Homes.com is still going to take it and put it on their site, because they know that having information is what makes them powerful.
Yeah.
Having as many homes and as much significantly right information is what makes them a powerful site. That's how they get leads. That's how they sell leads back to agents, right? This is what all these sites do. It's their business model. If Zillow is going to take this stand, what they're counting on is that the majority of agents are going to say, we're never going to use that. Because how do I justify to my seller, hey, this might be good for you, but you're never going to show up on Zillow if Zillow has the number one app in the, and I don't know if they're still there, but they
I'm
used
just going
to.
to say this. I just think in terms of like, if I'm representing a seller, I'm like, you going on Zillow is not going to get you more for your home or not, by and large, because you're already syndicated to all these other websites, and serious buyers are working with an agent.
Yeah.
The majority of them.
My big question mark about this is I'm going to make some declarations here.
All right,
I
let's
think,
hear it.
well, it's
going down in history,
Listen,
folks.
it's not really declarations, because I'm going to say one of two things is going to happen. Either Zillow is going to back down and say, just kidding.
I feel like that's what they're going to do.
Or
Like-
this is just not going to get used because agents aren't going to understand it. And it's going to become a null and void conversation.
Maybe both will happen.
It might,
So what's
very,
interesting to
yeah.
me, and like to kind of bring this full circle, is
Yeah.
the headlines that were making it to me was about Compass versus Zillow. And Compass is kind of like digging their heels, and they're like, all right, Zillow, let's go. They have apparently, according to the resource that I looked up, 10,000 homes. It grew from 2,000 to 10,000 1 year in their off-market network. And a lot of
Which
them are luxury
nationwide is
homes.
honestly not that much.
It's not that much, but like if you're like an uber luxury property, and Compass is claiming, and I don't mean that negatively, but I just don't have data to support this or not. They're claiming that there is a 2.9% advantage in price increase if you're in this exclusive off-market network. I don't understand it, because to me, more exposure means more
Should always
competition,
bring, yeah.
which means push up the price. So I don't get it. I don't get why. So if you're at Compass and you want to let us know, like I'd love to hear. But that's, I think, where the headlines are hitting, is because Compass is like, okay, Zillow, like And also
Honestly,
with a place
I
like
think
Compass,
everybody should be like, okay, Zillow.
I agree.
Whoa. Like,
But
cool.
there are teams and businesses that have built the whole rev model, their whole lead gen model off of Zillow leads, and they're
Yeah.
paying Zillow.
Yeah.
And so Zillow is like placing a bet. We're like in this like
That's what it feels like.
everybody's placing bets right now and like calling each other's bluffs.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
So, okay, again, I really just want to hear from people about like, do you understand this better than we do? I'm sure there are people.
Yeah.
And if you do, will you please
We'll
like
have you on the show.
call me.
We'll have you on the show.
Call me.
Yeah.
Or we'll have you on the show. Like I would
Yeah.
love to get into this a little bit more
Yeah.
and I would also love to just gauge what other people think is going to happen.
Totally.
I think it's super interesting.
Yeah. Okay, that was fun.
So that was just like the tip of this is going to be an ongoing conversation because this is going to be a moving target.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We
One
took a
more
stab.
tiny little baby thing.
Oh,
This goes
babies.
back to fun times.
Okay.
Okay. Little user submission.
Oh, what was it?
And
we
to
had
this-
a user submission?
Yes, or listener submission. not a
Okay,
user.
yeah.
I don't know why I said user. I wrote
Because we're
that
being
down.
used. Use me, I dare you.
Okay, you officially crossed over to Silly
I knew
Town.
you were going to say crossed a line.
No, I said crossed over to Silly
Yeah,
Town.
I'm in Silly Town.
Yeah.
Often.
Um,
I am. I told somebody recently that I was weird. It might have been the science guy. And he was like, you really scared me when you told me you were weird. And I was like, well, I am weird. He's like, no, when I think of weird, I think of awkward. Like
Oh.
awkward. I'm like, well, I probably am a little awkward sometimes, but I'm more just like silly. Like silly town.
you have a
Yeah.
really fun silly side.
Thank you.
And I will say that I remember one of the very early times we spent time together.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I just had I think you carry yourself and present yourself in such a professional, polished way. And the first time I saw you be really silly, I was like, what is happening? I literally watched you turn into like a little cookie monster in front of me. I was like, what is going on? And you were like, I'm super weird. And I was like, well, I wouldn't call you weird. I'm like, you're super funny and super silly. But
Just
yeah.
silly.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What's the
Okay.
last thing?
Okay, so Gina, I'm sorry because this got lost in our inbox. I believe your name was Gina.
Okay.
That's pulling that out of my head. Okay, so she wanted to submit a couple things that were, I think it was to our question of like, what's the weirdest thing you've seen or what's the weirdest request that you've had a client request. She had two.
Oh.
One was she had a buyer that asked if they could, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I read this correctly. They only wanted to look at properties that had spirits.
What?
I'm going to repeat that. Had spirits. Like
How would you know if
ghosts?
they had spirits?
Unclear. There is no search criteria in our MLS for that.
This is where you're a gatekeeper of the spirit houses and you're like, this one has spirits. I know.
I would go full blown. I'd be like, I will bring a magical ring on a chain, and if it twists to the right, spirits are present.
You know, there's
Let's do
science
this.
behind that,
I
right?
know. Oh, okay. Okay. Science. Is it? Have you read this by your scientist?
I
friend?
read it by my science friend.
Okay. So that was the first one.
Okay.
And that made me LOL. Legit.
So
I was
funny.
like, oh my God.
How would you know?
I don't know.
Like they want a ghost house?
Yeah. Want a ghost house. Huh. Do you know that in our disclosures
some
at some
interesting
point in the
kink.
last 20 years, it has changed that it used to be that you had to disclose spirit activity, and now you do not have to disclose spirit
I
activity.
didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Fun fact in Minnesota.
Huh.
But in my career, so it's been in the last 20 years, that changed. It used to be that you did have to. And I'm like,
it's
that's pretty subjective.
That's what I'm just gonna
I think that's
say.
why it changed. I think people were like,
how do you be like, no,
Whoa, whoa.
I swear there's activity.
well, and also like,
How do you measure that? How do you know?
Also, like a buyer could just come in and be like, "Oh, I'm going to sue you because this house is haunted. You didn't disclose it." And you're like,
That's
"What?"
freaking
And they're like,
weird.
"I can prove it. It's haunted. My lights flickered twice." Okay, well,
Yeah.
calm down. Maybe sue me because my electrical has issues. Just kidding. Okay. The other one she said was she once had a seller that would not allow for any personal items to be shown in any of their photos
What?
or so any of their things.
Okay.
Okay, so think of looking at a house that someone lives in.
Yeah, it has to be vacant if you don't want it to show any of their things.
Nope, they live there.
What the frick?
No personal items could be shown. And they also did not want any digital scans. This must have been recently because no digital scans, so no floor plans. She said it was the hardest property to try to represent ever. It was pictures of like
The floor?
a window, the floor, a faucet. She's like, I had to take the weirdest pictures of all time because that was the criteria.
Why do you think they were doing that?
I don't know. Maybe they were in witness protection.
Yeah, okay,
That is
that's
the
option number
first
one.
thing that
I was like, okay, option number one, legit. Yeah, what's option number
That
two?
actually doesn't make any sense though.
No, it doesn't.
Because your
I
things
think-
don't tell you who you
God,
are.
I don't want to make judgments, but this is what you do when you speculate. Like, I'm just like, the second option is that they had a mental illness and that they were like, or they were on drugs and they were like, people are out to get me. And if they see this,
Yeah, or
thing,
they had
they'll
had
know
some
it's
bad
mine.
experiences.
But any item at all?
It said no personal items could be shown in any photo.
Personal items.
Yeah.
Like what? I don't even know what that means.
Anything they owned
That's so weird.
that wasn't the house.
Hey, Gina, good job on selling that house. Because that sounds.
Well, she didn't say if it sold, but I'm guessing she did.
I'm guessing
But I
it
bet
did.
she
That
did.
sounds impossible.
All right.
Do we cover it all?
We did it. That was
Oh
a
my
lot.
gosh, that was good.
And that was like a zigzagging.
That was a
all
zigzagger,
over the place.
for sure.
Yeah. But we did it.
All right. Well, that's all.
Okay.
Oh, is that all?
No, I'm just going to say we'll have more to come on that MLS delayed marketing period.
We're gonna have more to come on
the buyer's market.
Energy stuff too, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I hope let us know if you like this format for these happy hours because I think this is kind of how it's going to go. A little bit of fun, a little bit of
Not fun. Just kidding. It's
Info.
all fun.
information,
Yeah.
a little more hard hitting stuff, and just like more like up to date conversational stuff. Yeah.
This is for real how we did this before we started recording. It just was like we're sitting on a patio drinking wine, and this is how we talk. And that's what it is. And we
So welcome.
zigzag. I
Join
would
us.
say we share a little bit more when we're not recording.
a little.
A lot, you know.
Hey.
I mean, we've been friends for a while, and there's a
Yeah,
lot we can
of
share
course.
that we don't want to share.
Okay. And with that.
That's all for this episode of Real Estate Done Rightish Happy Hour edition. Until next time, cheers to doing it rightish.
We'll try. I'll just do it as fast as it feels okay. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general knowledge and informational purposes only and do not constitute professional, legal, or financial advice. As licensed real estate agents in the state of Minnesota, we are not attorneys, financial advisors, or tax professionals, and we cannot provide advice in those areas or in regards to any agency or broker-specific topics in any other state. Any reliance you place on the information provided in this podcast is strictly at your own risk. We strongly encourage you to consult with qualified professionals for specific guidance related to your individual circumstances.
Wow! That was good. All right. Holy sh! Testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm testing. I'm gonna take my shoes off. It's so hot in here, and the only way to release steam from my body is
Steam?
heat. I mean,
You're steaming?
I mean, probably. I'm probably steamy.
Oh God, I walked around the lake today and I got so fucking hot.
you
I
get
thought I was gonna
steamy?
die. My sports bra was soking wet when I got home.
That's
I had to
amazing.
peel it off.
Ew.
And I didn't shower. I just wiped it
Oh.
all over me. Just kidding.
And I was like, wow, I'm impressing myself. I'm going to bathe in my own sweat.
Just gross.
Oh, it
like,
is.
congratulations. It's going to get hot in here and it's going to be smelly.
Yay. It almost
Oh.
feels like news angery.
Welcome to the Saturday
What
Evening
a
News.
call.
We are your weekend news anchors for sure. Because we're only going to tell you.
You're going to talk the whole time. And I'm going to make weird faces at myself in the camera.
Make them in the actual camera.
Okay, what were you saying?
Welcome to the 5 o'clock news with Annalie. That's our couple name.
I'm glad we finally established that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, are we ready?
Not sure we needed to, but just in case. I'm drinking more.
Welcome to Real Estate Done Rightish, your favorite podcast for realtors by realtors. I'm Jen.
And I'm Annalie. You have to start over.
Oh, why?
The happy shower edition.
Shit. Okay. Welcome to Real Estate Done Right. It's your favorite podcast for realtors by realtors. I'm Jen. Oh,
You didn't say
the
it.
happy shower.
Like, when are you going to say it?
So many more times.